And welcome to the KATH interview of the week for this week. We are delighted that you are with us, and this is going to be kind of an ongoing interview topic that we are going to have hopefully at least once a month, and I think it's something that really strikes to the heart of who we are as Christians and our mission, the mandate that Jesus gave us, and specifically that is to get out and preach, to evangelize, to tell other people about Him, about His church. And you might remember a month or two ago, during the Monday show that I host called The Good News, we had a few of the St. Paul street evangelists on with us, Paul Mathers being one of them, Oscar Cavazos, and also Art, whose last name I forget. But right now we have on the line with me Paul Mathers. He is the leader of the Dallas chapter of the St. Paul Street Evangelization Group. This is something that was started out in the West Coast, and it has been spreading like wildfire all across the country. Their website is streetevangelization.com, and if you want to put a /Dallas or /Collin County, you can get more local information. So Paul Mathers joins us, and we may be joined in a moment by Oscar Cavazos, the head of the Collin County effort, but we're going to see if he calls in. But in the meantime, Paul, thanks for joining us today here on the KATH Interview of the Week.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
All right, this is what we call our street report, because you guys are literally going out on the streets and spreading the good news. Just give everybody an update, if you would, about what exactly inspired you to get started with St. Paul Street Evangelization and what exactly you do.
Well, I'll just go back a little and give a little history on what we spoke about a month ago when we were there in the studio with you. This was started in Portland, Oregon by a guy named Steve Dawson barely a year ago. It was May of 2012. And what we do is we go out on the street somewhere in public where there's a lot of foot traffic. We've been going down to places like Clyde Warren Park in Dallas, that area. And we've had some good luck down there. And we have a sign. It's like a sandwich board sign that we put out. And it says Catholic Truth. Do you have questions? Do you need prayer? And we set up a table with some rosaries and some pamphlets that explain Catholic teaching and, for example, how to say the rosary. And we just patiently wait while people walk by. We're not proselytizing or yelling at them or screaming or anything. And we let the sign do the talking. And if people walk by, the most we would say to them is, would you like a free rosary? And that usually begins a conversation. If they say yes, we'll ask them, are you Catholic? And they'll say, well, yes or no, and it'll go from there. And we'll talk to them if they have the time and spread the news about Catholic teaching. And what got me into it was last September, I was on YouTube, and I happened to run across a video of a fundamentalist gentleman somewhere in another state that was videoing himself in front of a Catholic church, and he actually had a bullhorn yelling at people coming out of Mass, and he was saying, you need to get saved. And so that inspired me to look around for something a little more passive, because people aren't going to listen to you when you scream at them like that. Mm-hmm. And I ran across this apostolate, St. Paul Street Evangelization, and it's kind of spread from there. I'd sent them a message and said, hey, I'm in Dallas, I can do that. And they turned around and put me in touch with Arthur K., who's the other gentleman you mentioned.
Yeah. Thanks for providing that last name. I'd forgotten his last name, Arthur K. That's right. Okay.
And we've just kind of grown from there because we have the website now, and we found Oscar, who started his own chapter in Collin County. We've got another one in Fort Worth. And we have one that's coming in Tyler soon. And it's spread out over the last year now to more than 50 cities, Australia, the Philippines. I think I saw a message recently, somebody was interested in Kenya, and believe it or not, Pakistan.
Oh, wow. Very, very interesting.
All over the place.
Yeah, and again, the website, streetevangelization.com. If you want to learn more about it, then you can do /Dallas or /Collin County and learn about the local efforts. Just amazing that, this is being revived. Of course, street evangelization is not a new thing. The apostles did it, but, a lot of people listening right now, Paul, might say, well, gosh, I'm not cut out for that. A lot of people want to kind of fall back on that quote attributed by attributed to St. Francis, which I understand he never said, where preach always and when necessary, use words. And it seems like a lot of people just don't want to do this because they're afraid. What would you say to those people?
Well, it is hard to do at the beginning. You're not used to dealing with the public, and you go to Mass, and you're a dedicated Catholic, but you're not sure if you can really talk about it to people that much, and it takes a little self-motivation to do it. It was difficult for us the first couple of times we went out there, but it's amazing how the Holy Spirit works in people, and when you just start up a nice, friendly conversation with them, we're not there to argue. I mean, we're not there to try to force people to believe what we believe, and it's amazing to me that we thought we would be doing a lot of Catholic apologetics, which you do need some knowledge of, all the different doctrines and teachings of the Catholic faith to do, but about 80% of what we found is it was fallen away Catholics or inactive Catholics that we've come across, which is really great, because we'll talk to them and offer them a rosary, and they'll say, well, yes, I'm Catholic, but I haven't been into church in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll say, well, let's talk about it. Have you thought about going to confession? Have you thought about, what would it take to get you to come back to church? And you really need the Eucharist in your life, and it just goes from there. And we really haven't had too many conversations, although the time that you went out with us, which you can tell people about, we talked to some other non-denominational people and had a very nice, friendly conversation with them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. So, I was impressed with that, where Art in particular was sitting down and just having this long, long conversation. Now, of course, these people were interested in talking because they were out there for that very purpose. But I think sometimes what the fruit that we may never see is the person that walks by and says, no, I don't want a rosary, but something lodges in their heart that we'll never know about this side of heaven, where they may go home and say, I do need to go back to church, but it may not happen that instant, but it does plant a seed.
That's very true, and we're learning as we go. For example, I've printed up like 500 business cards recently with my email on it and our website, and we are starting to get some feedback now, because when we go out on the street and talk to people, and if they have questions but maybe they can't wait around, we'll give them our card and say, well, why don't you email me and we'll talk about it later. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, yesterday I was pumping gas and I was talking to the attendant there at the Costco, and he asked me if I went to church, and I said, well, yes, I do. He started the conversation, and he said that his girlfriend was a fallen away Catholic and that he was a Protestant, and they were having some issues. So I handed him one of my cards and said, let's talk later. And it's amazing. We can just do it anywhere, not just formally out on the street like we've been doing, but, the guy at the grocery store, the gas station, or anywhere you run into people.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Paul, because since that one time that I went, it helps you to relax and be more comfortable in just talking to people. I've had 2 occasions since that day where really, I was approached. We were at the airport last week, and a gentleman came up and asked if he could, he was a taxi cab driver, and he asked if he could give our daughters candy. And we said, yeah, sure. And then he starts talking about God and this and that. And I'm pretty certain he wasn't Catholic, but I started talking about our encounter with God in the Eucharist. And it was almost like it was so easy because that seal had been broken. And there's one other case I could tell you about as well, where it happened, where some Protestants approached me when I was over at Lou Sterrett visiting somebody at jail. And I was actually holding a rosary at that time because I was praying the rosary, but it just seems like you have more power once you just do it. It becomes so much easier to talk, and you lose your inhibitions.
That's very true. I mean, the Holy Spirit is moving the whole thing, and like I said, we're not out there to convince people. We're just there to share our faith, and as we say it, we're there to plant the seeds. Mm-hmm. We can't convert anybody. And last Tuesday, thanks to you, we went to UD to their dinner and discourse, which is a weekly dinner, I believe, that they have, where they have speakers come in.
Yeah.
And my partner Art made a PowerPoint presentation with a bunch of our pictures out on the street, and we talked to a great group of about 30 on fire Catholic students there at the school, and they fed us dinner, and we showed them the presentation, and we each kind of got up and took turns and told them our story, and it was great. They took some of our cards, and I know they're real busy right now because it's the end of the semester, and they're all studying like crazy for their final exams and things, but I think we're going to hear from some of them, and they're probably going to be out on the street with us in the near future.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So, you mentioned about how somebody that goes out should have a knowledge of their Catholic faith. How great of a knowledge do you think a person needs to have? And secondly, if a person doesn't feel like they know enough, where should they go and learn it?
Oh, there's so many sources now. There's so many great books out there, and Catholic.com, different websites. Me personally, I love listening to like CDs of different Catholic speakers in my vehicle when I'm going back and forth to work. John Martinoni is a great example. One of the first books I read when I really got deeper into my faith was Carl Keating's Catholicism and Fundamentalism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can just go on Amazon and type in Catholic apologetics or Catholic teaching. It's amazing how many things are out there now.
Now, you didn't give the right answer, though, Paul. I was hoping you were going to say, hey, you got to listen to Catholic radio.
Well, that's the number one thing that everybody should already be doing if they're listening to the show, right?
That's right. They're already doing that. Yeah, of course, by the very nature of them listening to this program, they've already found this radio station. So, yeah, but you're right. I mean, it can't be one thing. It's got to be, really reinforced through websites that you're visiting and the radio that you're listening to, and if you have cable TV, watching EWTN, and Scott Hahn books, and Steve Ray, and Tim Staples, and and I think your story and mine as well, and a lot of people, is once you kind of catch that apologetics bug, boy, it really grabs hold of you, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And then also, I think you got to be careful about 10 years ago when I first got into it, and maybe this has been your experience as well. I'm not sure, Paul, but I hear this so often that people get so excited about being Catholic that sometimes, and it was certainly the case for me, that you can get so fired up that you think the whole world needs to be Catholic, and you can end up really overwhelming people and even sometimes offending people. Did that ever happen to you, or are you familiar with those kind of stories?
Sure, I've heard stories like that. Of course, the whole world does need to be Catholic, but how you go about it is a different matter.
Exactly.
That's why I like what we're doing with street evangelization, because it's very non-aggressive, and we just talk to people as they walk by and talk to us without, like I said, proselytizing or screaming at them like the guy that inspired me that I happened to find on YouTube there.
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't know their faith that well, I encourage them to learn it. Read the Bible each day, read the catechism, listen to Catholic radio as much as you can, and if they're interested and they think they could want to go out with us or start their own chapter, they're not going to be alone. I mean, we'll be out there with them, helping them out until they sort of get used to it also. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and, you make a great point about the whole world needing to be Catholic, and that's a very politically incorrect thing to say, but it's also a very true thing. And, we see these coexist bumper stickers, and that seems to be the kind of the default position of a lot of people, is that, hey, can't we all get along? And I think all religions have truth, and, just everybody kind of does their own thing, a very relativistic viewpoint, but that's really not what the gospel tells us to do. The gospel tells us to go out and evangelize and preach the gospel and the truth. One faith, one baptism, one God. And so I think a lot of Catholics are stuck in that mentality of I'm okay, you're okay. But what we really need to do is say, well, yeah, you're probably okay in some degree, but you can be even better. And here I want to help you. And that's, I guess, part of the mission, right?
Absolutely. I mean, Jesus created one church. He said, on this rock I will build my church, not my churches. And I'm not sure if a lot of Catholics even or think about this, or a lot of non-Catholics don't even know about it or think about it. But if you've been baptized properly, even if you're not Catholic, you're part of the body of Christ, which is the Catholic faith or the Catholic Church. You may not be receiving the fullness of truth like we believe that was handed down to us through Jesus and the apostles, but we just got to get some more of those people in there to get from their partial truth to the fullness of truth. That's what we're trying to do.
And if somebody's listening right now and says, gosh, this is something I really want to do, they can, of course, visit that website, streetevangelization.com/Dallas, or if you're in the northern part of the listening area, at least in the Dallas Diocese, /Collin County, they can visit those sites. What if somebody is in Fort Worth? Are there any chapters that you know of out in the Tarrant County, Paul?
Yes, Andy Walters is the leader in Fort Worth, and it would be /Fort Worth. We also have a chapter there.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. And as far as the supplies and the rosaries and any other tracts and things that you pass out, I guess you'll instruct them where to get all those. Do they have to purchase those, or how do they get them?
There is a nominal fee. They're pretty cheap. The pamphlets, there's a website where we can actually print them out ourselves. We can give you all the information, and it's all on the website if you're interested in doing this. It's wonderful, and it's really not a big cost for a startup. There's all those Catholic ladies out there making rosaries, sitting in their living room daily, and they don't charge much. It's a very low-cost effort, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, we call this a street report, and you're going to be coming on every month or so. Is there anything that's happened in the last month that you want to report to our listeners? Any success stories or, grace stories, you can say, because it's God's grace that moves people to listen and respond to the evangelists out in the street. Anything in particular that's happened that you want to mention?
Other than going to UD, which was wonderful, and speaking to those students, my wife and I are going to Rome soon, and, I'm looking forward to that, and we'll be going back out on the street. You never know from one weekend to the next, because we're all working folks, the guys that are out there and the ladies that are doing this. But it's just an ongoing thing, and it's growing, and we want more people to start their own chapters. We don't want one big chapter with 50 people. We want 25 chapters in the DFW area with 2 or 3 people at each one.
Mm-hmm. You're going to street evangelize in Rome?
I don't know. That might be an interesting prospect. I don't know if I can carry all that stuff over there, but we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, you also got to speak Italian, and can you do that?
No.
That might limit your evangelization capabilities. I'm sure there are a lot of people over there that speak English, though. All right, Paul, well, we are just about out of time. We got about 2 minutes, and I just want to remind everybody that I'm speaking to Paul Mathers, and he is the leader of the Dallas chapter of the St. Paul Street Evangelization Group. Streetevangelization.com/Dallas is their website. There also is a chapter in Collin County. There's one in Fort Worth, and I think you said that out in East Texas, like the Tyler Diocese, one out there as well with Gene and his daughters. Is that right?
His daughter is getting ready to start one in Tyler. I don't think they've formally begun yet, but there will be very soon.
Okay. Have you ever had any interest or any feedback from priests or even bishops that want to get involved in this? Any clergy members or deacons that you know of that are involved in this?
Not in our area. There are in some other places. We are working on that. It's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that we have going is getting together as 2 or 3 of us as a group and going to different parishes and contacting the priests there as well as Bishop Farrell. And that's definitely something that we're working on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sure he'd be very supportive of what you're doing, especially the approach that you have. It's, non-confrontational, and it's just speaking the truth. So, well, Paul, we are out of time. The time flies so quickly. I just want to remind everybody that if you would like to be an evangelist, we really all need to be evangelists. There's not everybody has to be a street corner evangelist, but we all have to do what we can in our state of life to spread the good news. And I'm speaking of myself especially, but I think a lot of us fall short of that. So if this is something that you think God is calling you to do, please contact Paul Mathers or one of these other gentlemen or ladies who are organizing these groups across the North Texas, streetevangelization.com is the website /Dallas or /Collin County or /Fort Worth. Paul, is there any other contact information you want to give, or do you want people just to contact you through the website?
If you go through the website, all the information is there. It'll come to me if people are interested in it. My email is on the website also.
Okay, and we will talk to you next month and get another street report on street evangelization. I appreciate your time today, Paul.
Thanks very much.
All right, God bless.
Same to you.